talk a bit about the modern beginning of community mediation and what that means in the United States. And first, before we get into our slides, I do want to recognize and thank the Trust Network for giving us this opportunity to have this platform, in particular the leaders, both Prabha and Joe, who are with us here today, that have helped pull this together, and Sunita, who made sure I know how to work a slideshow. So this is all wonderful and great. And Ben somewhere in the background. So couldn't do without an amazing, amazing team and the amazing Trust Network. So if you're here and you're not a part of the Trust Network, please consider joining. It's an amazing group of people who are really coming together, not only focused on early warning and early response, but also focused on community and social cohesion and infrastructure security. So please think about joining the Trust Network. And with that, I have with me Kabrina Bass. Kabrina Bass is the Executive Director of Midlands Mediation Center in Columbia, South Carolina. She is part of the NAFCM family, both through her membership as a center, as well as serves with us on the NAFCM Board of Directors. And I am D.G. Mawn, the president of the National Association of Community Mediation. And we're going to try to address the country. So why NAFCM? And I wanted to have this part, if you take nothing away from this section, is to know that NAFCM was not created by the Act. NAFCM was not created by some federal edict. NAFCM didn't create these centers that I've had the pleasure to represent and talk about. The centers created NAFCM, and they did because no one was recognizing what they were doing. No one was respecting the role they had in the community. And that really happened in the 80s. And that's all I'll say about the 80s at this point. We can do another seminar on why that occurred. They tried very much to create a national group, saying we need a group that's going to be able to knock on the door nationally, let people know we're here. It lasted 2 years and went away. More centers ended up drying up. In the early 90s, the centers that were still with us came back and said, we need this national voice. We need to be focused on it. It needs to happen, because what is occurring is everyone believes they're Christopher or Christina Columbus, and that nothing's going on in the community until they arrived. Or everyone goes to the same person, because, you know, he represents everybody who looks like him. He represents everyone who talks like him. So we'll go to that same person that those in power feel rather comfortable going to and rather safe going to. Communication centers require those in power to be brave, to be uncomfortable, to give up their control and give it back to the illusion of their control and give it back to the community, who really is the final place of decision on how that conflict's going to be sat with and walked through. So again, in 1994, they came back together and created the National Association of Community Mediation, here to here. Want to just be really clear, it was not, and it's in our DNA, that we're not top down. It is community up. We're driven by the members who create us, and we exist as long as the members wish to have this national vehicle and this national voice to push their message out there, that they are there to help reduce violence. They are there to help create the possibility of peace, and they are there to have people begin to experience fairness in their communities because their voices are being heard. And so we aggregate the wisdom. If you're not a part of the NAFCM family, then you haven't benefited from our amazing virtual library that has so much information in it on so many different things that have gone on, that are proven effective, that you may want to use to go with. You don't know about the amazing webinars where we have individuals who for free give absolutely amazing webinars and talks for our members to really learn and grow. We try to amplify the voice through, and Kabrina leads a lot of that through our Twitter and Facebook and our hub that comes out every 2 weeks and so on. And we try to advance the work. And we find the best way to advance the work is with our partners. And we are so grateful for our partners. So please go to our NAFCM partner page. And again, I'm going to point out our amazing partner here, MBBI through Prabha, who has helped to elevate the voices of our centers and to make sure that people don't unintentionally be Christopher, Christina, Columbus, and actually recognize that there are people there working. I am constantly having to remind them when they talk about, and then we need to go out to the country and have them start talking to each other. We are talking to each other. Maybe we're not talking well. Maybe we should be dancing. Maybe we should be sitting in silence. You can come out and help evaluate how well we're doing if you want, but don't come out and pretend we're not there already in the conflict, trying to figure out how to walk our way through it or live with that conflict. So again, our partners have been absolutely amazing in making sure we continue to amplify the voice of our members so that we go closer and closer to our vision that community mediation is community mobilization. That's always been our vision. Mobilizing the community, individuals, institutions, everyone and anyone who calls that community home, regardless of citizenship status. They are equally important to have a voice and to be heard. And so they have the ability to change the community. You heard Kabrina's story. She didn't go out and change the voting process. She worked with the organization. She worked with her communities. She had the community stand up, mobilized, and said, we need to be changing how we do voting in the state of South Carolina and Richlands County in particular. Again, that is our vision, and it's important to know who we are and why we represent them. And as I'm sure you heard throughout, it is in our DNA to be about peace building in our communities. It isn't just about settling a case. It's about, as Kabrina said, going deeper to the root and helping the people figure out why do we keep having the conflict, whether it's between folks, between communities, between institutions, and what can we do to build peace in this situation? And to always make sure we're looking at the issues of social justice. It's where we come from. The issues of social justice is why we were begun in the modern era through President Johnson in 1964 in the Congress at that time. And we're about democracy, civic engagement. Are we everything that the peace community brings? No, we partner with the peace community. We sure build on their ability to analyze the roots of conflict so we can help build inclusive processes. Are we everything of the social justice community? No. The social justice community works to shift power. We're there to raise the urgency of it, to point it out. That is one of our key hallmarks, to point out where there is injustice and then have others work while we hold that space to define what justice is. Are we everything of the democracy community? No. We are not about saying here are the necessary structural reforms. We're about providing sharp focus that there needs to be reform, and then let those who know that work and do that work do it well. We are here to partner with everyone in the community as we partner NAFCM with our amazing national partners that support us and support the work we're doing. And so I want to make sure before we take the final questions, people realize the gift community mediation was always intended to be. And so if you know a center that isn't meeting its intent, then volunteer and help it out. You know a center that isn't meeting its intent, give them what's in your wallet. It costs money, as Kabrina said. They don't get paid to do those cases. They rely on donors and volunteers. If you know a center that isn't reaching its intent and you don't have the skill set or time to volunteer, you don't have the resources to pull out what's in your wallet, then tell your friends, tell the other institutions to support them. This is who we are destined to be: inclusive with all, community-based, open to all, accessible for all, and low cost. Those aren't just words. To be a NAFCM Community Mediation Center, you must be striving for these 5 things, or you're not a NAFCM Community Mediation Center. It also means remembering that the system's capacity to be just is reliant on the institutional decision-making and interconnectedness. Your center's role is to be timely in raising those issues and innovative. In how you heard Monica say, do you do other styles other than talking? Absolutely. The responses in the space is as innovative as the individuals who are in the conflict wish it to be, need it to be, want it to be, and to the capacity of those that are offering that space. And it is to remember that the community capacity is to co-create. We're not coexisting, we're co-creating together to be that positive systems change that increases fairness, peacemaking, and reduces violence by increasing violence prevention by and with one another. If you are not outcome-oriented and having a significant impact both in the judicial system, which is half of our ball, and within the community, then you are still striving to be that communication center that was envisioned back in 1964. Community mediation centers are by their very nature designed to meet local needs and the local skills. And you'll see a list of things that our centers offer based on our 2019 State of Information Report. And that's just an abbreviated list. If you want the whole report, you can download it from NAFCM and read what else our centers around the country are doing. So if your center isn't doing it and it's something in your community that would be beneficial, would help bring fairness, bring justice, create peace, reduce violence, then help your center adopt and bring in that skill set. And they can do that if they're members of NAFCM, because we hook them up with a NAFCM member that's doing it, who can sit down and talk to them how they're doing it. So it's for their benefit. If anything from today, you learn that the history is fairly similar then that led up to the act as it is today. You heard the intent of the act, and you know by your experience where some of us are falling short. Then please say yes to your co-responsibility to co-create with your local center to be what that act envisioned. That's the challenge I want to put in front of everyone who's here today listening, that you will do that. And if you're not sure, then please become a part of the NAFCM family. Join us in this process to truly live out the intent of the act as was envisioned by the Congress who passed it, the Supreme Court that upheld it, and the President who put it into motion. And with that, I invite Kabrina to help us and this part before we open up to questions.
From a place of curiosity, integrity, quality, vision, and collaboration, we
rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation and every corner called upon our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If we're only brave enough to see it, if we're brave enough to be it. Amanda Gorman, 2021. Thank you very much.